Pace, choose to inspire, not destroy podcast, and we're back.
Listening.
Peace. Choose to inspire, not destroy podcast, episode 46. And we're back. I got my guys and my lady with me, Rion, Kofi, Marlena, I'm G. Hope life is good and you're living inspired. What's going on, y'all? How's everything going?
All is good. All is good.
Everything's great. Good to be here. Thanks for having me again.
You on the show. What are you talking about? What a way to break the ice. You are now a cast member. We have voted. If you want her to stay, just drop a like, drop a comment. Let her know that she's appreciated and she's welcome.
223 stay.
Yeah, if you got to watch the last episode, then you know how I feel about being abandoned, and she's not gonna leave me hanging with this one.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Did you watch the last episode?
I watched it.
How did you feel about that? Did you feel threatened?
I was like, wait, what?
She knows what's up. She know the deal. You see, she came prepared, logo on and everything. Not playing no games. I ain't even have to coach that. I started to have her next to me, like the dude, the relationship guru, when he got caught out there and he tried to put that video out.
Oh, Derek.
Yeah, I started to make her sit next to me and talk about how much she want to be on the show.
Yo.
Speaking of which, whatever happened to...
They both look scary.
It's crazy.
Whatever happened to
Pastor... military gear.
Whatever happened to Pastor Poppington, or whatever his name was, the one that came after him? Don't act like y'all haven't seen any of his videos.
I never heard that.
Pastor Poppington?
Now I'm send y'all a bunch of videos.
Wait, that came after who?
After Derek Jackson.
I didn't know a pastor came after him.
No,
I know
he
the
calls
pastor that
himself
came after
pastor.
Kevin Samuels.
He calls himself a pastor, but that's just in his name. But I'll send it to you. It's pretty funny.
All right.
Kofi will find any way to try and bash some sort of pastor.
Summarize those.
Yeah.
No, he's not a pastor. That was just like his IG handle. He was like Derek Jackson, except like I don't know, like less put together, we'll say.
Oh, all right. He ain't really mastered the scamming craft yet.
No, it was. You could tell. I don't know. He was more like Derek Jackson was polished, right? Like he would finesse you out of like whatever, right? Like this guy, like he said something like, I don't know. I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah. He don't want to say.
I don't know how polished Derek was though, because I've been calling him a fraud since day one when he started growing. I already knew.
How did you know?
Huh?
Because me as a lady, like I used to watch his stuff, and I was like, oh, he's speaking like some real stuff.
Yeah, he was G'ing all of y'all.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was catered for y'all. Mission accomplished. Yeah, don't come on here acting like somebody could get over on you. Word, he was doing it how he was supposed to do it. But I got a good one for y'all today. This is a good one. Yeah. I watched an interview. And I don't want to talk about the slap, Kofi. I know how you feel about all of that.
I can't even believe you watched anything with this fool.
I did. I'm not going to front. They said it was before the incident happened anyway, but it was a Will Smith interview on David Letterman's show. And in the interview, he was touching on a lot of stuff that I could relate to, man. They didn't talk about the slap. They said it was recorded before that. And he was talking about his book, really, and a lot of the stuff that was in his book. And one of the things was how he created like a character or an identity to protect himself from certain traumas and to kind of just shield him from certain events that was going on in his life. And I could relate to it. And you see the same thing in Moon Knight. it seems like this is a actual thing. It's a common theme, not just something that he pulled out of thin air. So I just wanted to get y'all take on it and see what y'all thought.
So then we're agreeing that he's like he needs to see help.
Oh
And
god.
if we're gonna, no, I mean, if
Oh,
we're gonna seriously though, if we're gonna say that like it's similar to what like happened in Moon Knight, then clearly that those two individuals need help.
Yeah, all right.
Because like it's one thing.
Go.
So like if the question is, either what do we think of it or do we do it? I think you have a fork on the road. I think there's some people that create a character, right, and like that might be disassociative personality, right, and then there's other people that have the trauma and like learn from it and like just won't go through it again, right? Like learn from it, right? Like it builds like armor almost, right? So I've been down this road before. I won't lend people money again because I've been down that road before, or whatever the case is. Or you can create a character in your head that's like, oh, everything is fine and happy, and like meanwhile, like you're hurting inside. And I think if you do that, you kind of need to talk to somebody.
So I kind of disagree with Kofi because I feel like if you go by what Kofi is saying, then the entire world needs counseling. Meaning, I think everybody, in my opinion, huh? Yeah, but I'm saying I feel like it's a natural occurrence because in my opinion, I feel like everyone creates a character. Everyone creates a character to go through life because if you, and especially just as a black individual, you create a character to go through life. Just my experience, right? So I got a character when I go to work.
Let me cut you off there.
Wait,
You're going down. No. You're going down. Wait. Before
Hmm?
you misconstrue what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The question is around trauma. If you create a character around trauma, right, and like you disassociate yourself with that trauma and pretend like it didn't happen, that's the point that I'm getting at. Like
But then what's to say
it's another thing to code switch.
Trauma? What's to say what's someone's trauma? You understand what I'm saying? Like who's to say what was trauma to someone? Like someone yelling at me could have been my trauma. Me going into a school and someone's making fun of it. Trauma is open in reference to how.
Right, but we're also assuming that you're not saying trauma is like I dropped my ice cream cone and now I created a third personality because I can't deal with the melting ice cream on the street.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I think everyone has created a different personality. Everyone. When I go to work, I have another personality. People don't know me the way how you guys know me, the way how George know me, the way how my girlfriend knows me. George doesn't know me the way how my girlfriend knows me. We all create a different personality when we're around different figures, especially being, like I said, I'm going to go down the whole race path. I'm not going to stay there. But as a black individual, growing up, I had to create a different personality from like where I came from. I grew up in Brooklyn, but when I went to Manhattan to work, I had to create a more acceptable, digestible personality because that's not the people I was around. You understand what I'm saying? Like I feel like we all do it to an extent, and you can't really and who's to say that's not trauma? Who's to say it's not trauma that you got in front of these folks and they weren't acceptance of you and your regular personality, so it was traumatic to you, and then all of a sudden you created another one. I think we all do it as an individual, unknowingly, and it's kind of a norm in a sense. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I agree with you a lot, Rion, because I could even think of like, I grew up in St. Lucia, so I came here when I was 11, and when I first got here, like going to school with all the Americans, they're like, oh, why does she have an accent? Why does she talk like that? So it's like you kind of like create like some kind of blockage, like a bubble. So now you mimic how they talk and you start talking like them. So now you forget about your accent. But fast forward 21 years later, everybody wants to have an accent now. Everybody wants to be from Jamaica. Everybody wants to be from some kind of Caribbean island. So back then you had to create some kind of personality where you're accepted in that circle. And that goes throughout life. Like you said, I go to work, I'm a different person than when I'm at home. When I'm with my kids, I'm different from when, I'm out with my friends. So I think that's just normal part of society where everyone just have to be in that circle where they are to fit in. Everybody do it so they could fit in with society. I think so.
Yeah.
So
I feel like with Moon Knight is the extreme. Like his personality forgot about the next personality, and you had like three. His was the extreme. But I feel like as
it's
you
dissociative personality disorder. So
yeah.
I think what the both of you are describing is a simulation versus creating a separate persona, a separate person, a disconnected piece of who you are. Because it's okay to assimilate, right? Like you assimilate, like you learn how to drive, right? That's a simulation, right? Versus I am no longer, I have nothing to do with this, my roots, and this has nothing to, and I'm this completely new person. That's crazy.
We're not assimilating because we haven't completely conformed. Because as we leave, we go back to our own person. Because so it's not completely assimilation.
Disassociative personality. Because
No,
you're
like I said,
consciously,
it's not the extreme.
you're consciously making the choice.
Yeah. So
Like
that's
in
why
that,
I wouldn't you
if
say
you're taking
assimilate.
the isolation of Moon Knight, like he didn't have a choice. He didn't.
Well,
He didn't.
technically, he had a choice. It was the trauma that pushed it further than what. For those of you guys that haven't seen the show,
I haven't seen all
know
of
what me
it,
and
so
Kofi are talking about. I'm just giving
Yeah.
I
giving a
only got up to
backstory. The Marvel
episode
show,
3,
you got to go
so-
check it out on Disney. It's an individual that he was dealing with trauma as a young child, and he created a whole nother separate personality, complete from the next, like another individual person to deal with that trauma. And every traumatic incident that happened, he kind of like created another personality. And to what me and Kofi are saying, we're just trying to like hash it out whether or not we do that on a certain level between human beings, you know, as individual people. So if you guys want to go check it out, that's some complete separate thing. I'm sorry, Kofi. I just wanted to give like a backstory.
No, that's cool.
So you really think you turn it off and on?
Yeah.
Like whenever you put yourself in the situation that you created the character for, you just turn that character on and then turn it off when you don't need it anymore?
So, G, you know how I speak. You know how I speak. You know how I articulate. You know how I feel about our culture. You also know the job I do. Is that acceptable in my in that field? Not at all.
Yeah.
Could I have my own identity in that field? Not at all. You know what I mean? Like it's something I turn on and off. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I feel
you,
that
you turn
everyone-
it like halfway off, bro. Don't Yo,
Huh?
you turn it like halfway off. You don't turn it. That digestible personality ain't, it leave you a little bloated sometimes.
You know why? It's because my true personality is very strong. So until you get me to a certain level, then it's like, you know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna be fake anymore. And that's pretty much what it is. We are faking it to make it for other individuals. It's sad that we have to do it, but it's us as human beings trying to be digestible to everybody else. You know, we have what's digestible to the working environment and whatnot. So yeah, I think we all do it. I think it's completely acceptable because I don't think anybody would tolerate the way how I usually act on the norm or could digest me on the norm unless you're from the East Coast or you know everyone has different personality traits that you got to get used to, right? So I feel like it's okay to a certain point, and I do feel like we all do it to end my thing.
I think that's the difference, is the choice, right? Like you consciously know that you're doing it, right? So when you don't know that you're doing it and you don't have any recollection of flipping that switch, then you should probably go and see someone, right? Because like you should consistently have, cognitive ability over everything that you do. When you're saying, I don't remember doing that, like it's very similar to drinking too much and blacking out. Like that's essentially what it is, right? You have no recollection of ever doing that, but like you're living your last night through photos, right? And you're like, we were there, we did that. Like I think that's vastly different and closer to the disassociative personality than just saying, oh, if I go into this bank or if I'm going to this job interview, I know that I have to use the standard, English contexts, right? Like you consciously make that choice. You're driving there, you're practicing, you know what you have to do, versus you get there and you just black out and you're like, I was in an interview? I didn't even know, like, what the hell? Why am I dressed like this? Two different things.
I agree. And to reel it back to George's question, I think that's what Will Smith was talking about. I don't think he's like has a complete dissociative personality. I think he's talking about what me and Emma are speaking of, in relevance to he has to go into these different networking forums and play a different role for each of them just to be digestible. You know what I mean? I don't think he has multiple personality disorder. I think just like how he said, sometimes you just don't want to play that role anymore, and I snap, and I'm like, yo, all right, you gonna get the real me. Like I'm tired of this shit. You know what I mean? So I think maybe that's what happened. Not to go into the slap or not to go into anything. I'm just saying whatever. But yeah, I think that's what he was pretty much speaking about during the interview, and that it's tiresome in a sense, which I can relate.
I don't know if it's so much like we speak about it being a blackout. You drink and you don't remember what happened the next day. But is it a blackout or is it your subconscious just doing what you would normally do had you not been so conscious about what's going on around you? I feel like it could be either that or just be a mental and stability that takes it to that level.
And I think that's the difference that makes it clinical, is if you can't remember doing that, right, then that's where the problem lies. But if you remember consciously saying, oh, you know what, I'm going into Europe and I know, the interviewers like to get, really touchy, right? Normally I won't let somebody put their hand on my shoulder, but I realize where I am, so I kind of have to assimilate to that culture. If I want to keep whatever I have going on, if I want. So I think that's where it becomes clinical, is when you don't remember doing that. And it's because like muscle memory is one thing, but like not remembering, like talking yourself up for that or knowing or prepping yourself before, I think that's where it becomes clinical. Like I said, I think, if you can't remember it, that's probably an issue.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you thought it was a muscle memory thing. Like, what if it just happens to where you're not even planning it no more? You've just been doing it so long that it's automatic at this point.
But if you realize it, right, and you can take a step back and say, okay, well, I'm doing this, or afterwards you're like, I totally remember doing it. I think that's vastly different than, again, not being able to remember it. Like, I think of same scenario as, when someone murders someone, they say it was a fit of rage, and their defense is, I don't remember that. I blacked out, right? There's usually a psychiatrist that's brought in to determine, does this person suffer from a particular like mental illness that would allow them to take those memories and suppress it into the far reaches of their mind that they can't access. Versus, I remember killing the person. Yeah, I mean, I did it with the knife. The only reason I did it is because, I didn't like the way they looked at me, or something random like that. Like, you're not going to get the clinically insane defense if you say, yeah, I totally remember doing all of that.
Yeah, he was using it from childhood, though. He wasn't using it from his adult life. He was saying that it started from seeing his father be abusive and have a certain type of behavior in the household. And he noticed that when everybody was happy, like when he was being funny, being the character that we know, everything would be different. And it would be easier for him to manage and tolerate being at home. So he kind of just stuck with it and transformed into the Will Smith that we know.
He assimilated to what was going to make people happy, right? He probably saw, if I act this way with my mom, with my dad, then he won't beat my mom up. So I'm going to just do this consciously every time he comes home. I'm going to be this person every time he comes home. Mm-hmm. So it distracts from whatever his issue was going to be with my mom.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah, I agree. I agree with the situation, but let me. I don't know. I'm Googling the definition of like a simulator, right? Because I don't see what Will described from what M just described. Meaning, as she was going up through school, she realized she had an accent. People were making fun of her. Will Smith, as he was growing up, he realized, if there would be less drama in the house if he was funny. They both decided to make a conscious change to suit the room. You understand what I mean? So like,
right. I don't think there's a difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Same thing, just a different situation.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It would be different if M was like, something happened when I was a kid, and what do you mean I'm from the islands? Like, what are you talking about? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then you'd be like, like, like your birth certificate says you were born on such and such island. I have no idea what you're talking about. I was born here. I went to this school. I've always spoken like this, right? Like, that's where it becomes clinical because people are like, nah, like, and like you were born there and you lived there till like you were 10, let's say, and then like, right, so then like you move here, let's say, and like from 11 on, you create this persona out of trauma, right? And you forget about the first 10 years. And you're like, no, I've totally, like, this is who I've been the whole time. And then you start getting all this information that comes out. And, right, then people are like, no, like, you're, like, you had this other life and you have, like, no recollection of it. I think that's where, that's closer to what's going on in the show and less to do, like that scenario would be less to do with like Will was doing. I think Will was just doing it to make people happy so he didn't have to deal with the reminding, you know, making people upset and then reminding him of like his father or whoever was abusive to like his mother early on in his life. He still remembers it because that's why he does it.
Yeah.
But do you feel like that could actually change a person from being how they're meant to be, like going in a certain direction that they had to put on this mask almost like to be this other person, and now that's who they have to be going forward in their lives?
Yes, absolutely. But I also think at the end of the day, it's still a choice, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to reconcile with yourself. Like, man, I really hate. Oh, you ever heard the term? You find this a lot in like people that do like sales. Like they're always on, they're never off, right? But even when they go home, it's like, can you just turn it off? So like, I think like that's when that individual has to wrestle with, can I turn it off or am I always just going to be on? And I think for Will, he's always on because he doesn't want to see what people are like when he's not on as well, right? So yeah, I think it changed, right? So like the choice to answer your question, I think the choice is you can choose to always be on and always be that persona because you're, you know, maybe you're afraid of what it's like, what the world is like, or how the world will perceive you if you are the person you were before the trauma. So I think it comes down to a choice. It's not an easy choice, right? Especially being, you know, I think about like him, right? If he has that choice every day when he goes home, you know, or every day when he wakes up and he has to go out before the smack, it's like, do I give all of this up? Thing that I have and show everybody who I've always been or how I kind of grew up, like what my personality was. And like, because everything that he has is built on who he is when he's on. Right? It's kind of like another example, right, is in the music industry, right? We'll take rap, for example, right? We know that like 99% of the people that rap aren't about anything that they talk about, right? But if they turn that off, even when they're not in the studio, the whole house of cards comes crashing down. So they consciously, I mean, they'll go as far as actually going to jail for no reason, right? Associating. Another person I can give you, right? Like, I was watching this video the other day. George, you probably remember this. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was like 6 years ago. John Wall. It was NBA on TNT. The Wizards were playing. They were playing the Brooklyn Nets. This is before Kevin Durant, I think, got there. John Wall went on a crazy tear. And before they were going to commercial, he hit like a crazy three and he started throwing up gang signs as they were going to commercial. And again, that's a choice, right? Like, he still kind of wants to be associated with that, but it's like, all right, so you know that, like, if you show who you really are, all of that NBA stuff is going to come crashing down around you, all of your endorsements and all that. So, I don't know if that made any sense.
It makes sense. I don't think none of that is trauma related, though. Like, that one is strictly a choice, but it actually does go to the next question I wanted to ask y'all. That, what do you think that there's a person you're viewed as, a person you actually are, and the person you want to be? Like, do you really think that there's three separate things, or it's all one and the same?
I could only speak for myself, where I don't think there's three separate things. I think it's all one of the same. However, I just cut it up. Meaning my job side gets that only part of me. You know what I mean? You guys get probably my job side and more like, gee, you could speak towards it. When I'm at work, I'm articulating certain things, I'm telling you certain things, but then when we hit the court or we outside, it's a different person, right? But I still feel like it's one. It's all one. I wish the world would enable you to show you as just one, but some people are just not willing to digest the whole you. You know what I mean? The whole you might just be a little bit too much of a big pill to swallow or whatnot. Like, you know, your other personality with your friends is probably a little bit too rough around the edges for them. So you give them just a piece. So I'm saying, yeah, we cut up these different personalities, but these personalities are still part of me in a sense. Right. But to answer your question, am I being clear? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I guess it's all part of the same. Yeah, it's all different parts of you that makes up, you know, you as a whole. But you have to separate it. Like, you go to work, you be this one person. You're around your kids, you're this other person. You're around your spouse, you're another part of you. But it's still part of you. All of different parts of you, but it still makes you as a whole. If that makes sense. Like, it's still you. It's not you're going outside of yourself to be someone else. It's just a different part of you that person gets to see, or these people get to see.
Yeah, and your significant other, like I'm pretty sure you and George, you guys share the entirety. Me and my, I might as well call her wife now. It's been 12 years. Me and my wife, and I don't want to get roasted on here.
I was about to dish you, but you know, I was waiting for Kofi to give me the signal.
Like, she gets the entirety. So when I go home and tell her certain stories that happen at work, or certain dilemmas that happen between me and like another coworker or boss, she knows the entirety of like my personality to understand why this went down this way, why I couldn't speak this way, what I would have said, what you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes you wish you could share that with the world, because it's not like you're completely negative. You just know some people are a little bit more softer than others, or they just can't handle the realism of yourself. Not to say you're a bad person or a difficult person. It's just, I don't know. You have to put up a facade to be around certain bullshit.
Do you see yourself holding back a lot though? Like, because you have to put these different parts of you, do you hold back in every, like, you go to work and you have to hold back of how you really want to be because you're in a different situation?
So, like George mentioned in the beginning, for the most part, I don't hold back. For the most part, like, so my language changes, my articulation changes, but then my viewpoints and the way how I am when it comes to opinions, or, you know, like, say if I have like a factual thing and it's not like, I'm going to say it, I'm going to state it. It's whether or not you were willing to accept it as a boss, as a supervisor, as a manager or whatnot. But I'm going to state it, because I'm the type of person, I don't like to do extra bullshit work just because I'm just going to state how I feel. And I think G has seen that personally. I could talk about the other job now. Yeah, I was in there talking reckless. Not really reckless, but not how a regular person would have spoken to their boss. Meaning, I'm not one to sit here and be like, I respect the hierarchy and the chain of command, right? But if we're here to do a certain type of work, then you're gonna respect my view, because you have me doing this work. I'm the one, the grunt that you send down to do it. So I want to make sure it's done efficiently and not like extra. So I used to go up there and speak my mind, where other people would be like, how the hell do you say that to, or you tell them what you're gonna do? Just let it fail. I'm not one to do work twice. So yeah, I feel like I still give I just
So
feel that.
which one of that is you then? Well,
Which one?
are you? I don't know if saying is you makes sense, but so when you're speaking your mind and you're getting at your bosses or whatever, is that the person you are, or that's the person that you want to be viewed as? If
How
it's
you
if
view
it's
me-
one
how
and
you
it's
view me is how you view me. Like how you view me is how you view me. I don't think I've ever cared to in reference to. I just don't want to disrespect anybody and anyone disrespect me. So I don't want my articulation to come off as disrespectful. I don't want my verbiage to come off as disrespectful. So I switch around certain tactics or certain ways I speak to someone to make sure they don't receive it as crude, because I could be pretty blunt and straightforward sometimes. And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to be rude or disrespectful. But I understand how I could come across sometimes. You know what I mean? Understanding yourself is it helps, right? So it's not like I'm hiding, you know, or I care. Like, I want to be viewed as a good worker. I want to be viewed as a good person to my friends and family. I want to be viewed as a loving person to my significant other. But those are all natural views that I actually really want. Like, I'm not trying to put up a facade for anybody. To answer your question, I just, give little bits and pieces of what I feel like people should or could know about me.
so that's the character.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're giving them a little bit of, yeah.
All right, so we got one for we create a character. Y'all took up all the time. I didn't even get into my character, but
Yeah, you brought deep topics, man.
I
You
did.
actually-
This is
you
what it is for now.
actually researched it. Like, I
This
told
is
you I was
what it
ready for
is
this.
for
I be
now.
knowing.
Nah, this is what it is. I'm locking in. I'm doing some research. I'm outlining the topics. I just want to make sure we got some good quality content to give to these people that's actually sitting down and giving us their time, because it's important. We got work to do. We got a message we trying to get across. And I'm glad that everybody's taking it serious and, they participating.
So rewind back to question one, because I don't think you kind of like gave your part of question one. Like, have you ever created another character or facade to deal with certain things?
I'm in character right now, bro. Like, it would be, I think I should leave that for part 2. I don't want to go too long. I feel like keeping it short and sweet has been effective, and that's the route that we need to take. And once I start running my mouth, it'll be a lot to talk about. I kind of just wanted to hear what y'all had to say about it, so that way I can have a different perspective and understanding in myself, and knowing that I've done this. I've done it for a long time in many different stages of my life, from losing my mom to my dad not being around, to a relationship that was failed, to just me getting by, and so I could relate to everything that y'all have been saying. And for me, part of it, I think, comes from wanting to be accepted, wanting to not feel, inferior or inadequate, like I have something of value to offer the world, and the fear of people not seeing that. So, you kind of create something that you feel like it's like a shiny object that you waving in people's face.
I'm gonna press you real quick.
I'm about to do the
Press you
outro.
real quick, because I wasn't really. I didn't really like that response, because I felt like, what the fuck this nigga just said?
What?
Like, I'm in character right now. I need you. I know you want to cut it short, but I'm like, you sat here and you talked about, and this is from day one.
Mhm.
I was around when you was going through hardships, right?
Mhm.
I was around when you had a different persona or a different character, right? But during those different characters and during those hardships, you said and you showed that this was truly what you wanted to do. So how is this a character? Isn't this not what you wanted to do? This is you. At least I'm assuming.
No, the character is to present it that way all the time. To make it seem like it's not a struggle. Like, I might come on here and I say something clever or inspiring, and people might think like, yo, this dude, he's he's elevated. He's achieved a certain amount of peace within himself that he's not in a certain place anymore, and that's just not true. You know, my mind is kind of on master reset all the time.
We all know this is a struggle. Everything is a struggle. I thought that's why you named it Choose to Inspire and Not Destroy, bro. Like, I know this is your like development. Like, this is you. You know, everybody struggles. So I kind of, I don't know. I took offense for you saying.
Why you don't want to accept my character? Like, then everybody else got to express themselves and be. No, I'm not saying it's not.
You know why?
But you never want to listen when I tell you it's real.
Because it feels like you being fake to me. That's why I don't want to accept your
Rion, he's being fake. He got mad characters in this.
One is Jorge. The other is Tyrone.
We know not to be around him.
I hear them whispering like, "What's the matter with Georgie?" It's like, yo, I'm just.
I'm glad because he gives you his entirety, his whole. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Being around the bush.
Nah, I told you I'm saving it. I'm saving it for part 2, just so the people know what they got coming. It's a little teaser. But I enjoyed myself. I hope y'all enjoyed yourself as much as I did. Feel like it was another good one. We got some good momentum going. And I appreciate y'all, man. And if you out there and you creating these characters to just try and get by or whatever it is, you know, get by how you need to get by, but just understand that you're good enough. You have value, you have importance, and just being you is good enough to let the world see. Just let your light shine. Whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, just be inspired. Choose to inspire, not destroy. You heard? Peace.
Whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, just be inspired. Choose to inspire, not destroy. You heard? Peace.
Hey.
Yo, choose to inspire, not destroy.